I don't know what to do.
Watch. Wait. Hope we are insane.
A man watches on as astronauts above the moon begin their slow descent to oblivion, unaware that his own is approaching. As he clings onto life from his hospital bed, a police inspector investigates who may have been responsible for the attack, and perhaps more importantly, why.
He's alive. So is the belief. He said he would do it. I believe he will.
1978's The Medusa Touch is a film about many things. A simple detective story, the untapped power of a mind, confronting your own history, powerlessness in the face of the hierarchy, but more importantly, 1970s men with amazing voices. Voices even better than my Richard Burton impression.
I am the man with the power to create catastrophe.
Set in a London slowly recovering from a fictional aeroplane disaster, Richard Burton is John Mauler, a novelist whose complicated past is slowly unravelled by Detective Inspector Brunel, played by Lino Ventura. He visits Mauler's therapist Zonfeld, played by Lee Remick, and through her sessions we flash back into his past to try and discover who may have tried to kill him.
I expected a man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had no way of knowing. And I expected an English inspector.
Well, in Paris right now, a Frenchman is confronting that English inspector with equal surprise.
Ah, I see.
Mauler believes that he can cause disasters simply through the power of his mind, a claim that Zonfeld and Detective Brunel doubt at first but then come to take more seriously as we see it in action.
He had delusions. Most patients come because they feel the world is too much for them. Mr. Mauler felt he was too much for the world.
A couple of effectively creepy kid versions of Mauler watch on as those who cross him meet their end, including his parents and his boarding school.
One master and 4 boys died in the fire.
Through Mauler's journal, his books and himself in flashback, we hear his thoughts about the various forms of establishment which he despises.
There are more tears than smiles. There is more sea than earth. One day, the insupportable grief of mankind will sweep over the land, and an ark will float on that liquid expression of misery. What do you make of that?
It's helpful, of course, that this is Richard Burton, so you relish every word of his spiteful speeches.
The prosecution makes much of the defendant's professed wish to see the Imperial War Museum destroyed. Why, the defendant asks, do we send busloads of children to Corp at that collection of tributes to authorized murder? A crime? Well, look at this venerable courtroom. We're supposed to be civilized, aren't we? Yet we do shove innocence into that chamber of horrors stuffed with pain and mutilation and death and say, look, children, this is what put the great in Britain.
With each new disaster comes new potential suspects seeking revenge, and a greater understanding of why they might want him dead.
Goodbye, my dear husband. And don't expect me back.
I won't. You know the rest.
But also grows Mauler's desire to understand what he is, why he is, and if he can be helped. That's why he went to see Zonfeld, and why, at his lowest, he begs for her help.
You still don't believe me?
Please, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Tomorrow? For God's sake, Zonfeld, I killed my father, I killed my mother, I killed my wife. It's not just a damned headache. What am I? How can I will death?
She still doesn't believe in his powers, so to prove it, he looks out of his window and steers a plane into a tower block, killing over 700 people. Yes, there might be some 70s disaster movie effects work here, but it's a great scene which shows the power, hopelessness and hypocrisy of a sociopath who rails against the establishment for disregarding the rest of humanity.
Sometimes when I'm alone at night, I've thought I've created all the world's disasters. But it's not true. We're all the devil's children. We find what powers the sun and we make bombs of it. We create wealth and we become obsessed with greed. We achieve power and we go mad. We always destroy. Why, Zonfeld, why?
This is a great cast, and along with Burton, Remick and Ventura, there are a few great British character actors coming in for a few scenes. Derek Jacobi as Mauler's literary editor.
Could he have made enemies with what he wrote?
We'd better read him and see. Since no one paid very much attention, I doubt they inspired murder.
Michael Hordern as a fortune teller unnerved by Mauler.
I suggest that you go and swear.
Gordon Jackson as a doctor astounded by Mauler's ability to will himself alive.
The brain is complicated. Ask her. It begins in blood and flesh and ends in incomprehensible tangles of fear, dreams, love, will. That's the ordinary brain, never mind that one. All I can tell you is, you're looking at a mind determined not to die.
As a detective story, it's not that great deal of a mystery. The red herrings aren't very effective.
Well, you've given me another suspect to chase. Her father. But I confess, if I were Mola, I would be coming to see you too.
And as enjoyable as the final act is, it does just become a 70s disaster film with a slight supernatural twist. I did like the fall in polystyrene and panicking crowds though, as Mauler begins his psychic attack on the establishment from the safety of his bed many miles away. Don't worry, they did manage to stop the Queen from getting to the church, so she's safe. In all this carnage, I found a total of 6.5 grams of gold in the Medusa Touch. Good performances, great voices, a nice combination of 70s themes. However, I watched this 2004 Prism Leisure Corporation DVD of it, which I don't particularly recommend. As you can see, it's in 4:3 aspect ratio, which is never great. Plus the visual quality is generally poor, and there's some ghosting which is very apparent in a few scenes. 6.5 grams of gold is worth around £435 today. That's more than enough to buy you this suspiciously expensive copy of War of the Worlds on double vinyl, featuring the wonderful tones of Richard Burton as the narrator. That's all for now. Try to use the hidden power of your mind to like and subscribe so you can join me next week as I find out how much gold is hidden in 1988. Bye!